you're gonna break into. Up on you.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, hope you're doing all right. Busy show scheduled for today, like always. But first, cat got your tongue. But first, the show's being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by my friends. Yeah, I got one or two. Down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Hey, man, if you like cool people to hang with, if you like drink specials all the time, if you like live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights, and if you like to stuff your face with great food, you're going to love the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Call ahead for a reservation or for directions. 518-792-4869. 518-792-4869. And the show is being brought to you in part by Ringside.com. The official boxing equipment supplier of the Talking Boxing with Billy C show is Ringside.com. Check them out, www.ringside.com. Make sure you mention Billy C. Demand a Billy C discount when you place an order, whether it's for a boxing glove keychain or for a ring. I don't care. Just demand it. And as always, for all you trainers or gym owners or anyone else that likes to buy boxing equipment in bulk, make sure you drop me an email, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I can get you even a bigger and a better discount at ringside.com. And by the way, speaking of ringside.com, you can, if you place an order today or tomorrow, I believe they're extending it through Monday as well, free ground shipping. So your standard shipping is free. So, if you're always waiting for that extra deal Well, now you can cash in on the discount from us. You can cash in on free shipping, and it's time to place that order at ringside.com. We got some stuff going on. I got some David Haye news. The WBF, Michael Grant, who's the WBF heavyweight champion, he's announced a world title defense of that belt. I got Tyson Fury, where he's calling home for the next month as he prepares for his big fight against Steve U.S.S. Cunningham. A couple of fights that were announced. A fight that was canceled that was scheduled for this week. And believe it or not, some news out of the WBA, which I'm kind of happy about. And I'm hoping that other people follow suit. I mean, they already are following suit with the WBF, but that's another story. Dax Khan is scheduled to come up in a little bit and give us his weekend boxing roundup. Plus, we'll ask him for his thoughts on some stuff. Yesterday, I can't get this out of my mind. Yesterday I was watching, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Dual Survival. I record them, DVR them, or whatever, and watch them when I want. Sort of like the premium podcast subscribers get to do with this show. And they have they were stuck in the Rocky Mountains. That was their. In case you don't know the show, they simulate people, two people out doing something that most people do, and then they get stranded in the wilderness and they got to survive. How do you get out, and how do you get help and all this stuff? Well, anyway, they break down in a 4-wheel drive truck, and they get stuck in the snow, and they're in the middle of friggin' nowhere in the Rocky Mountains, and normally. These guys are using their head and stuff, but I thought that they did a completely ridiculous, stupid thing. I mean, first of all, they take the vehicle and they rip it apart, and this vehicle becomes a survival tool. It's not a vehicle anymore. Yeah, not anymore. After they destroy it, rip the wires out, rip the interior out. I mean, why not use the vehicle as your shelter? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can't appreciate it. But I say to myself, first of all, I don't know if I'd ever put myself in that situation. But if I did, I think I'd kind of stick around. You got a waterproof shelter. I mean, if you want to modify the inside a little bit, maybe take some stuff so you can lay down and sleep or whatever. That's a different story. But come on, man. Anyway, don't forget, Change My Mind. We're re-airing the Billy C's Change My Mind with Sal Sinicola. Check it out. The best bet to do is go up to the website, www.billycboxing.com, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a menu that says Billy C's CMM, which stands for Change My Mind. And you can see all the episodes, so check that one out. We'll have a new one next week. It's my man Sivak, one of our writers, one of our contributors to this show and to the site and stuff. We're setting up a Change My Mind with him. He's got a couple of things he wants to change my mind on, so he's going to be coming up sometime in the near future, maybe even next week. Speaking of next week, don't forget we got James Houlihan, who's the big cheese over at the Fighting Irishman exhibit, which travels. He's going to stop by and tell us about that. As well as an undefeated cruiserweight prospect, DeMar Ortiz, which I'm really looking forward to chatting with him. So that's what's going on next week. And if you're looking for a good book, don't forget Gentleman Boxer. You can get to order your copy right by the front page of our website, www.billycboxing.com, or through the Billy C. Boxing Book Club. Bazooka Ike says, B-Hop versus Cleverly is probably the best option for B-Hop. A beatable guy who owns a trinket. I doubt the Ward fight happens anytime soon. I sure don't want Bernard to fight the mandatory IBF contender. That would be almost as big a pile of crap as is Mando versus Morad Hakar. He says, fight Cleverly in the UK. It'll be big over there. Bazooka Ike, man, give a shout out to him. He used to communicate a lot more than he has. He's probably been busy. He's mad at me. I don't know. But thanks for the email. The more I think of the Cleverly fight, I think it's a dangerous fight for Bernard Hopkins. And I'll tell you why. Not discrediting B-Hop in any way, shape, or form, but, it's all about styles. Styles make fights. And, although I think B-Hop was very successful in dictating how that fight was going to go against Tavoris Cloud, Nathan Cleverly might be a different animal. He's fought a little more often. He didn't have some of the saga and some of the baggage that Tavoris Cloud was carrying with him, his promotional issues and stuff like that. Plus, the style of Nathan Cleverly is high volume. And, at least up to this point in his career, he has not shown that he falters or deviates from that plan. And that's dangerous for B-Hop because B-Hop wants to control the pace. He wants to have the fighters fight his fight. He's conserving his energy, make no mistake. That's why he's doing it. So I think Cleverly is a dangerous fight for Bernard. But with that said, I do think it's a valuable fight. I think it could bring him some do-re-mi, as well as another shot at a belt and talk about setting records and stuff. Could you imagine if Bernard Hopkins fights Nathan Cleverly and wins, and now he's like unifying the world title at 48, which would be something special. He did have a statement. I don't know if you caught this, Bazooka, but he did have a statement saying that he values the mandatories. He's always done it throughout his career, and he's looking forward to doing what he's got to do with that. But he also said, hey, by the way, did you notice that I had all these fans cheering for me at the Brooklyn Center? And, I got to give them what they want. So basically he's telling the IBF, hold on there. And we'll see what happens with that. But he plans on being active, and I would think that the IBF would grant him at least one, voluntary defense of that title before they force him to fight Karo Murat, which ultimately to me is nothing special in terms of a fight. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But anyway, thanks for the email, Bazooka Icon. Speaking of emails, we have emails stacking up for the Talk to Me Man show, which is Mondays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on www.billycboxing.com. So if you have an email that you want to get read on the Talk to Me Man show, make sure you email it to me, either place, and just you can put in the subject line, Talk to Me Man, or you can just email talktomeman@billycboxing.com. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IDO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IDO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Box with Billy C show. You know, before I went to break, I was talking about the new show, Talk to Me, Man. And not only do you get to send your emails in, and I talk about them on the air like we do at the beginning of this show, but the phone lines are open, too. We had a great time last week. Make sure you mark it down. If you're on the East Coast, you're probably during lunch. You know, so it's a great time to tune us in right here on BillyCBoxing.com. And if you're out in the West Coast, you're probably having that bagel and coffee, so you could tune us in there too. And if you're in Europe, because we do have a large following in Europe, then you're probably just getting home from work. So it all works out, man. It's a good time slot. So check it out. Tune it in right here, BillyCBoxing.com. Or you can go to Ustream and just search Talking Boxing with Billy C, because that's the channel it's on. Got an email from The Frog, and he says, hey, Bill, love the show. Love the new show, Talking Pizza with Billy C. That's obviously a reference to the interview we had earlier in the week, and I appreciate the Talking Pizza. Yeah, I speaking of pizza, I think I eat it like 4 times a week. You know, I love pizza, that's for sure. He says, great work with the new Talk to Me show. I love it. He says, is the Change My Mind show on the podcast as well. You see now, Frog, more commonly known as Gavin, he's a premium podcast subscriber, so he gets to listen to this. The question is, no, the Change My Mind is not on the podcast, premium podcast yet. It very well may be in the future. The reason why was because we were doing the Change My Mind show as kind of more of a video-oriented show, which is where we're moving to. We're trying to move to more of video stuff, and so that wasn't available. As a matter of fact, the podcast is under review. It's under permanent review right now. So, we need to see where that's going anyway. He says, one last thing, any chance of doing a heavyweight spotlight on Kenny Norton? I did ask last August. I guess he's keeping track here. I apologize for that, Frog. Ribbit. It's not easy being green. Yeah. But the bottom line is we're going to do one. I have asked Tony Treem about that, and hopefully we'll be doing that next time out. So Kenny Norton is on deck for our another heavyweight spotlight. And in case you missed the last heavyweight spotlight, it was on Max Schmeling, and Tony and I had a blast doing that one. A lot of interesting stuff. All the heavyweight spotlights can be seen or heard, depending upon how we did it. There's a section on the website called Tony Treem's Heavyweight Spotlight. So check it out, and you can play all those previous ones. So and speaking of the website, hopefully you're banging around that site, because there's a lot of good stuff, including the New York Sports show we have. It's Talking New York Sports with Billy C and Brooklyn Mike. If you like other sports aside from boxing, even just a little bit, tune into that. It's live on Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on BillyCBoxing.com. Or you can catch the replay or the podcast. And the podcast is available to all. It's not just for the premium. So check this one out. Check that one out, I should say. Alex T, the other Alex, says, how about which fighter has disappointed you the most? That's a good question. He says, for me, it was David Tua. He knocks out Rahman, Ruiz, Moscaev, and Michael Mora. I even thought Tua should have gotten the nod in the Ibuchi fight. There was a guy that what a waste of talent that is, Ike Ibuchi. He said he had him completely out on his feet at the bell in one of those late rounds in that one. He says then he shows up overweight to fight Lewis and not willing to let his hands go. I couldn't believe it. He says if I was a betting man, I would have bet the farm on Tua that he was going to knock out Lewis. I don't even know if he landed a solid punch all night long. Then, of course, Lewis gets knocked out in his next fight by Rahman. who's my which fighter disappoints me the most? That's a tough question because a lot of my favorite fighters do, and you know what? I love that question, and I'm going to answer that on Monday's Talk to Me Man show. That's right. So if you're looking for the answer on that, I'm going to answer it on the Talk to Me Man show. I think it's a great topic to talk about. Plus, while you're at it, why don't you email me which fighters have disappointed you the most? And we'll talk about it on the Talk to Me Man show. Talk to me, men, at BillyCBoxing.com. Email me who's disappointed you the most. And we'll thank Alex for that. But there's a part 2 to this. He says, how about another one? Have you ever watched a fight that made you so mad that you almost stopped watching boxing altogether? He says, I've probably had 100 of them, but the one that bugged me the most of all was the Julio Cesar Chavez against Frankie Randall rematch. He says Randall had dropped Chavez in their first fight, and by the mid-rounds of the rematch, he was smacking Chavez all around very easily. He looked like he might even knock him out, and then there's a headbutt. And they go to the cards, and surprise, surprise, Chavez wins back his title in Vegas, a Don King card. I remember throwing a beer can at the TV and swearing I would never watch another fight. It was also as big a fix as I've ever seen. Those judges had no intention of scoring the fight for Randall no matter what happened. He says, and I don't know if they still do this, but the WBC used to have this stupid rule where if there was an unintentional headbutt and one fighter was cut, the fighter who was cut had a point deducted. So on that night, Randall had a point taken away, and if it wasn't for that rule, he would have kept his title on the drawer at least. They still do that title. Their thought is that they even it. They still do that rule. Their thought is that they even it up. I'll never forget being in a rules meeting. One of our fighters was fighting for a WBC belt, and I had to ask that question over and over. Wait a minute. I'm like, you mean you're going to deduct a point? If the fighter who gets the unintentional headbutt, the fighter who delivers it, basically their thought process is that it evens it up, especially if it goes to the scorecard. But I think it's ridiculous. That's a good question. What fights? There's so many of them. Recently, the fights that come to my mind. I know we're giving him all kinds of accolades now, but Bernard Hopkins against Chad Dawson, the first fight, that whole shoulder roll injury, whatever, really got me disgusted. The Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Bradley fight, I think that that was pretty disturbing. The outcome of that really had me shaking my head. I tell you, there's so many. You can't even, like Alex T says, there's 100 of them. You can't even think of how many there really are. And it's a shame. It's been happening like that for years and years and years, about the outcomes and decisions and stuff like that. How about the Bam Bam Rios fight, where he gets that decision. But I think collectively, because with all of those bad decisions and stuff, do you blame the fighter? Do you blame Timothy Bradley for being the benefit, for gaining, having the benefit of winning that title, even though the judges were really the guys at fault, So that's a tough one. But what bothers me the most, and what really has me close to walking away from the sport, not only outside like what we're talking about now, the sharks of the business, the scumbags, and I can say that on the air because I was at church last week and the priest said that he referred to somebody as a scumbag right in church. I thought that was kind of strange, but anyway, I can't stand all the BS at the press conferences. Thanks for the email, Alex. Actually, we're going to be answering that first question on Monday on the Talk to Me Man show. But I can't stand all the BS with the press conference stuff. It's gotten so old to me. I mean, it really has. I don't know what else they could do. I mean, if somebody says, okay, well, what can they do? If they're not going to talk smack, what do they do? But it's like are we supposed to all of a sudden think that it's for real? We go from, it's all BS to, oh no, this one's real. It's like wrestling. Remember the old days, and I mean older than the WWF. I was going to say WBC. Back in the day when I was a kid, in the late '60s, early '70s, you were watching. If you watched wrestling on TV, you'd swear it was real. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that looked real, especially when you saw all the blood and you saw them get hit with a chair and stuff. And then as time goes on, with the technology and the better television and cameras and everything else, you can see a lot of the stuff. But it's like wrestling when all of a sudden you're saying, "Oh, that's real. That's a real one." I was listening to a sports show on ESPN the other day, and the coach, it was the coach's show, whatever, and I guess he's a big wrestling fan. Maybe he was even a wrestler. I don't even know who he is, but he was saying that he was on a plane one time, and a couple of wrestlers got into an argument, and they were literally fighting on the plane, and went smashing into one of the emergency doors. He says, "I swear to God, I thought I was going to die. I thought that door was going to pop out, and we were all going to get sucked out." So they were having a real fight on the plane, I think it was Mr. Wonderful and maybe The Undertaker or something like that. He said that they got into a real fight on the plane. So, but my point is I know you could say, well, what else can these guys do rather than talk smack to each other and whatever. I don't know what the answer is, I don't necessarily have an answer for that. But I wish somebody would. I wish somebody would come up with a different way. I can't stand I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Oh, when I get you in there, boy, am I going to do this? It's just, and then you see that, they do none of that. And, at the end of it, they're hugging and smooching. And, even worse, you see some of the fights like Sugar Shane Mosley and Manny Pacquiao, where I thought they were going to, get a hotel room afterwards. They were touching gloves after every good punch, and it was like a sparring session. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was sickening. I think that bothers me the most as a fan. Because it's so fake. And to me, boxing is not fake. Wrestling, it's fake. It's planned. It's entertainment. Not that boxing isn't entertainment, but we need to get something. Now there are some true fighters that hate each other, and you can tell that it's real to a degree, but they're so far and few in between because they respect each other. It's a job, man. It's their job to go out there and try to rip somebody's head off. So but Alex T poses a couple of great questions. Who's a big disappointment, which I'm going to talk about on Talk to Me Men Show Monday, and what fights almost made you walk away from the sport. It's a tough one. Certainly not the Carmen Basilio and Sugar Ray Robinson fights, man. Two great fights there, and it's funny. I find myself talking about Carmen Basilio a lot lately, and I think I've got this renewed interest in him, and like all of a sudden I'm feeling that he doesn't get the credit he really deserves, even from me. Like I never really gave him the credit up until just a couple of months ago when we started talking about him and who. And when I watched the Tony DeMarco fight, I said to myself, "There's no way." This guy was just he was good. He was really, with all his success, I really think he was kind of underrated as we look back now. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, it looks like I got at least one more email here I'll read, and then we got some news, and then we're scheduled to get Dax Khan on here, and a whole bunch of stuff coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I
would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's
wrong,
the problem?
Billy,
what?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you
speech.
Leave,
What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. Want to welcome all the Fight Now audience just joining us like they do every day. And if you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple, man. Pick up the phone and call whoever you're paying your TV bill to, whether it's whether it's cable or satellite. You give them a call and you tell them that you want the Fight Now TV channel. That's it, man. Pick up the phone and call. For all the information about the channel, you can find it on the website, www.fightnow.com. And speaking of now, I do have one more email. And actually, I just scanned through it, and I'm going to give a bonus here. I'm not only going to talk about this one right now, but I'm also adding this one to the Talk to Me Man show, which airs on Mondays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on BillyCBoxing.com. It's a new show that we're getting great reviews on. Everybody seems to love it. And it's, well, I can see why the fans love it, because it's all about you guys, man. It's your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. We had a great time last week. We're going to have a greater time next week. So this week, I should say. Wait a minute. We had a great time this past week. We're going to have a better time next week. So phone lines get opened up. The emails get read. Fun. This one's from my man Mike. My man Mike in Hawaii. You know, every time I get an email from him, I get jealous that I'm not there. He promised me he was going to bring me out there, and we never did. But anyway, my man Mike says, hey, Billy C., what do you think? I'm sorry, he says, who do you think was the better fighter in pound-for-pound terms between Roy Jones Jr. and Floyd Mayweather when they were both in their absolute primes? I don't think I've heard your opinion on Roy too often. How highly did you rate him in his peak years? Wow, that's a tough one. And it's true. As I read this and I'm thinking about it, during the break here, I guess I don't talk a lot about Roy Jones Jr. Right? Well, first of all, I love this question so much that, like I said, I'm going to recycle it a little bit and bring it on to the Talk to Me Man show Monday. So anybody that hears this one again is going to see why. But first of all, Roy Jones Jr. I thought he was a great fighter. I mean, it was always fun to watch. I think what's happened to him, and it's pretty ironic that Mike. Obviously, this was by design, but. Mike sees a parallel between these two fighters, and I agree with him. The big knock on Roy was that Roy handpicked his opposition and was calculating all along his reign, which he did do. But Roy also did some other things that was outside the box. Like, moving into the different divisions, of course, winning the heavyweight division, being the first guy in over 100 years to win, to be a light heavyweight world champion, to move up to the heavyweight division, win the world heavyweight championship, and then move back down and capture a world championship back down in the light heavyweight division. Bob Fitzsimmons had been the guy who did it previously. I think overall, legacy-wise, I think when it's all said and done, I think Roy will get more accolades as an all-time great than Floyd will. Even though they both followed similar paths, as far as their absolute prime, Roy was more exciting than Floyd, in my opinion. Floyd's argument now with all the Floyd lovers is that he displays the sweet science and it's all about defense, hit and not be hit, and I think Floyd had a better or has a better defense than Roy does, and certainly did when they were both in their absolute primes, like Mike says, like he asks. But I think that Roy Jones Jr. brought more excitement in his fights, even though they both are guilty of handpicking opponents and going the safe route, the least amount of risk for the maximum amount of reward. I think Roy was a little more exciting. I also think that, I don't think that Floyd is going to hang on as long as Roy did. Roy is still hanging on, and Roy has seen better days. He's still a sell. People still want to see him. He still has a loyal fan base, and I'm sure Floyd will too. And if Floyd loses, if Floyd sticks around, the question is when he loses. The big question will be how long does he linger on? I don't think Floyd will linger on any longer than he wants to, because he doesn't have to. When Floyd loses, and I think he will. He's going to engage in a couple of big fights, the fights that we've always wanted to see him in. And then he's going to walk away. And I think that for his legacy, that may be the best thing. Because if he continues on the path that he is now, he will have a legacy. He will be undefeated. But it's going to haunt him because that question mark will be there. That question mark really isn't there with Roy Jones Jr. Because he did... step it up, even though he's, fighting well beyond when he should, and a lot of people are concerned for him. I think that overall his legacy, as well as Bernard Hopkins, will be better than Floyd's. But back to the original question, both in their absolute prime, I give the nod to Roy only because Roy was a little more exciting. Now, if you go all the way back, and we look at Mayweather, on his way up, and a lot of people equate the time he left Top Rank to when he started fighting, handpicked opponents. When you look at the path from point zero to that day when he broke the ties with Top Rank, I I think they're very similar. I think it would be hard to say, well, Roy was better, or Floyd was better. Floyd fought some decent people early on. Roy fought who was available to him. I don't know. It's a good question. I think overall, my reason for thinking that pound for pound, why I think Roy was a little better, was because of the excitement factor. Yes, he displayed the sweet science. Yes, he had blazing hand speed, but he also engaged, and that's something that I value as a fan. And hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting Floyd for anything, except stuff outside the ring, which I'm not going to throw into this conversation. But the bottom line is, in my opinion, I think Roy was better. That's all. That takes care of that for the emails. That one will be recycled, so you guys will hear that on Monday's Talk to Me, Man show. This is out of the news today. It's actually just hot off the press out of Europe, out of the UK. David Haye has made an announcement that he plans on sitting down with his trainer and manager, Adam Booth, this weekend to discuss whether he's going to permanently retire once and for all. Now, I know he said this before, but now yesterday, it's ironic that this comes out today. Because yesterday I said, that I'm so sick of David Haye, and I actually called him the F word. No, not that F word. The fraud. I called him the fraud, and I call him a fraud not because I think that he's like B.J. Flores, who's a real fraud inside the ring, but a fraud in a sense where who the hell does he think he is? And this is an exact reason why. And he's. Adam Booth was doing an interview yesterday, and he's the one that said, for the Telegraph, which is the newspaper that did this. He says, I talked to David Haye. He's going to sit down with me, and we're going to decide. He says, I wrote a letter to Bernard Bonte. Now, Bonte is the Klitschko's manager of K2. He's involved with them. He says, I wrote a letter to the Klitschko's Bonte a few weeks ago, outlining the details for David to fight, the dates he's available, and so on, in a contest with Vitaly Klitschko for the World Boxing Council title, and we've had nothing in return. David has made his feelings quite clear about wanting to fight Vitaly before Vitaly retires. We have not even had a no, a not interested, or a thanks from Team Klitschko. He says, David told me that he can't be bothered to wait for Vitaly anymore. You wonder why I hate David Haye. That's why. My question is who the F is David Haye? Does he forget that the guys who's holding the belt right now is Vitaly, the belt that he seeks is Vitaly Klitschko? Who the hell is David Haye to send a letter to Vitaly Klitschko telling him what the parameters of a fight with him will be, what the dates choices for Vitaly to pick will be, and how he can make it all happen? Who is David Haye? This irks the hell out of me, because David Haye really, when you look at the complete work as a heavyweight, has no business in making these demands. None whatsoever. In case he hasn't noticed, the Klitschkos own all of the belts in the heavyweight division. What's my old saying? It's their baseball. They get to pitch. David Haye is a designated hitter. He comes in, and he's the guy who gets brought in to get beat up. He's not going to beat Vitaly. He's not going to beat Vladimir. I don't even think he beats Chris Arreola. So, I mean, this is a guy who thinks who he is. And what saddens me the most is that one of the world's best boxing fans are in the UK. Okay? Nobody follows boxing like the UK fans. And they buy into this crap, man. I don't get it. Are you, listen, for all my UK listeners, are you that starved for a British champion again that you follow this crap from this idiot? I don't get it. It gets better. Because he says, basically, the speculation that David Haye was even going to go the route of becoming the mandatory title challenger for Vitaly Klitschko. Right now he's ranked number 5 by the WBC for that one fight against Derek Chisora, which incidentally I thought was his best performance. And how ironic is that whole scenario when the WBC ranks him for beating Derek Chisora and they wouldn't give him credit for the fight when they announced it. They kind of distanced themselves from that. Although there was rumor that there was a WBC belt on the line, then there wasn't, then there was, then there wasn't. I lost track. But because he's only ranked number 5, he says that there's already the WBC already has a bunch of organized fights that has created a logjam, which could leave David Haye waiting for someone to fight for months, even years, before he becomes the mandatory. And David Haye feels that he's not, he doesn't deserve to have to wait. I say, why, man? Who the hell is David Haye? How does he jump past all the other fighters in the heavyweight division that's been doing the same thing as David Haye, keeping busy, winning, obscure fights to get their shot at a world title? Who is David Haye to pass all of this? Because he's a big draw in England. Okay, how about David Haye fight Tyson Fury? Well, why not that? Why not have David Haye call out a player in the heavyweight division? I look at my rankings, and our rankings say, when you take the Klitschko's out, why isn't David Haye picking a guy like Areola or Robert Holinas or Tyson Fury, or even Kubrat Pulev or Brian Jennings? There's a guy that's not even in our top 10. He's not even in our top 10. He's number, what do we got him at? Number 12. All right. And I would like to see that fight. I would say this. If Brian Jennings doesn't beat David Haye, which I think he would, if he doesn't beat David Haye and David Haye beats Brian Jennings, then I think I would support him getting a shot at Vitaly. How about that? How about that, David Haye? Are you man enough to even fight Brian Jennings? I don't see him calling out Tyson Fury. I don't see him trying to go after Tyson Fury. Is he man enough to fight Tyson Fury? And I'm not saying Tyson Fury's that much of a killer. Come on, man. David Haye, it's just a joke. It's just a joke to me. It really is. Give a shout out to my man, Coach. He's a Fight Now viewer, and he's all by him lonesome. Him and I are in the chat room. So if you're listening live, come on into the chat room, www.billycboxing.com, and you can check out the chat room. And you got to go to chat. Michael Grant, believe it or not, Michael Grant is a world champion. He's the WBF, the World Boxing Federation's heavyweight champion. He hasn't made a title defense in quite a while, and quite honestly, as much as I support the WBF, I think they really dropped the ball on this one. I think they should have stripped Michael Grant a long time ago, and this is something that is a problem with all sanctioning bodies, and this is why sanctioning bodies sometimes give us what we don't want, and that's a relationship with them and a promoter, and that's the case here. A lot of times, it's not that Michael Grant didn't want to fight anybody. The problem is he doesn't really have a promoter, Michael Grant. So that means, who's going to put on the fight? Who's going to pay him? Who's going to put on the fight? And all this stuff. Well, they finally found somebody. They waited long enough, and Howard Goldberg, who's the president of the WBF, announced yesterday that Michael Grant, who's got a record of 48 wins, 4 losses, 36 coming by knockout, will be defending his world heavyweight title against Carlos Takam. And Takam is out of France, and the fight will be taking place in Paris, or actually Noisy-le-Grand, which is a suburb of Paris. The show is being promoted by Joe Germain, who I would assume is associated with Takim. So that's the fight. It's set for May 24th, and I think it's going to be a good one. So we'll see what happens with that. And like I tell you guys all the time, keep an eye on the WBF because they are making some strides, and I definitely like what I see and hear from them. That's for sure. Tyson Fury. We were just talking about him and a fight that I'd like to see him in against David Haye. He's continued to step up his level of opposition, and he's doing so again on April 20th when he fights Steve U.S.S. Cunningham. Now, I say he's doing it again, even though I've been very critical of Steve U.S.S. Cunningham. Number one, fighting still. In the cruiserweight division, he became a non-issue. And number two, fighting as a heavyweight. Although we got to give him credit, I believe that he was the victim of some terrible scoring when he fought Tomas Adamek, which is a guy that's starting to fade a little bit. You got to wonder if Tomas is going to get a shot at a Klitschko again. And would it be competitive? He had a hard time with a boxer like Cunningham. I'd like to see a Tomas Adamek maybe fight. The winner of the Michael Grant Takeem fight. But rumor has it that Larry Donald, former world title challenger, is making a comeback. He may be fighting soon. We'll keep you posted on that. And the rumor has it that he's fighting Manuel Quezada in his first fight back after several years, which would be a pretty big test. Talk about jumping into the deep waters after a layoff like that. But anyway, back to Tyson Fury. Do I have attention deficit or disorder? I can't even remember the ADD. But what do they call it? ADD. Adult attention disorder deficit, or dyslexic too. AADDD. He's an adult attention dyslexic. I can't even remember what the hell I was saying. But Tyson Fury has set up his camp, so to speak, in Canada, and he's in Gatineau, which is in Quebec. And this is where he's doing his final preparations. His fight is less than a month away, or just about a month away, on April 20th in New York City. And it's going to be showcased on NBC Sports Network, which is a good one. That means we're all going to get to see it. He's taking on Steve U.S.S. Cunningham, which, I don't know. Cunningham, you got to give him credit. He was definitely getting in to Tomas Adamek's face with his counterpunch. He was landing some hard shots. He's got hand speed still, and he does have some pop. He was able to rock Adamek a couple of times, which is tough to do. We know that. But I don't know, man. I think Tyson Fury has actually gotten better. I was concerned because I was watching Tyson Fury for a long time, and I didn't see any improvement. I really didn't. Until his last two fights. I'm starting to see some improvement. He got another trainer. He's more, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but he's more Americanized in terms of his boxing ability, which I think he needed. And I think he's getting better. Now, here's the weakness of Tyson Fury. There's two things. Number one, his chin. We've seen him get rocked before, and we also see that he's got that true fighter's instinct, fighter's mentality. He likes to, when he gets hurt, instead of covering up, he goes after his opponent, sort of like Juan Manuel Marquez, and we all saw what happened to Juan Manuel Marquez. And another similarity that I see with Juan Manuel Marquez and Tyson Fury is Tyson Fury has these little teeny ankles, man, very small, and that means when you get rocked, you go down. And I think Cunningham does have the power to hurt Tyson Fury. The question is Steve U.S.S. Cunningham going to be able to get close enough to Tyson Fury to do any damage? And if he does eat a couple of jabs, how does Tyson Fury fare against a body attack? Not that Steve Cunningham is known for attacking the body, but it just brings up some interesting questions. And I think that we have to give Tyson Fury credit if he beats Cunningham. Even though I don't think Cunningham is that great of a fighter anymore, and I certainly don't think that he's a major player in the heavyweight division, but the style and the improvement of Tyson Fury will be there if he beats Cunningham on April 20th. So I'm looking forward to that. Then there's rumor that Tyson might have to fight Kubrat Pulev. Who knows, man? Who knows? As far as the fraud, David Haye, I'd like to see him fight Tyson Fury. That's just my personal opinion. I think that would be a decent fight. A fight that I thought would have been okay, not great, but okay, was a fight that was scheduled for this weekend. Pablo Cesar Cano, who's a fighter I absolutely love. Now, if you recall, and I know you're saying, well, why have I heard that name before? Well, first of all, he beat the snot out of Paulie Malignaggi, and Paulie got the decision, which was sickening. There's one for you, Alex T, the other Alex. He wants to know, what decisions makes you want to, turn off boxing forever. That was one. I thought that Cano. I didn't even think that fight was close. I thought Cano battered Paulie Malignaggi and got robbed. He also fought Eric Morales and was beating Morales all night long until he ran out of gas, and then he ends up standing in front of Morales and got knocked out. Now, when he moved up, he fought Paulie Malignaggi. He moved up in weight. He fought at welterweight, and he's currently ranked at welterweight, both by the computer and by different sanctioning bodies. But he was going to fight this weekend on Friday, on Saturday, against a pretty tough opponent in Manny Perez. And that fight was going to be back down at where he should be at junior welterweight. But it was announced yesterday, at least by Team Perez. I have not heard any statements from Pablo Cesar Cano if maybe he just has a different opponent or what. But according to Team Manny Perez, and specifically Manny Perez's wife, who must be his spokesperson, I wonder if he's allowed to, make a suggestion of what they can have for dinner. I don't know. But she said, and I quote, this is a statement that she put out, that Manny and I regretfully want to inform all of our family, friends, and fans that Pablo Cano has pulled out of his fight with us, and our team will not be flying to Mexico tomorrow, meaning today. She said, we extend our deepest apologies to our team and their families. We want to thank everyone for the amazing support and well wishes that were sent our way. We believe everything happens for a reason, and God will line up something great for us later. Stay tuned, and we'll be ready for whatever comes our way. Spoken like a true opponent. Don't know what the deal was. It was a Golden Boy event. It was scheduled to be shown in the United States on Fox Deportes and also on Televisa in Mexico. Pulling out of the fight this late in the game, pretty crazy for me, especially with a guy like Cano, who's a guy that I personally like. I love watching him fight. I think he's a talented fighter, and we'll have to wait and see what the hell happened there. We did have that on our challenge. I'm sending the challenge out today. Obviously, I'm going to have to pull that fight. It was one of 8 fights that we had on there. And the replacement fight that I wanted to put it with was also on that card. But even that's in question. I'm hearing conflicting opponents for Alberto Cueveva. It was originally scheduled to fight Genaro Garcia. At least that's what I have. And then it was announced by some sources yesterday that he was fighting someone else, and Jesus, a former flyweight, moving up a couple of weight classes. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on with that. So we may eliminate that altogether and end up with 7 fights that I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. But now I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, we're scheduled to have Dax Khan come on.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C. sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. show. He's Billy C., and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And if you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. Whether you have satellite dish or cable, now's the time to call and tell them that you want Fight Now. Trust me, it's a better shot than what you're looking at now. That's for sure. You need to get Fight Now. All the information about Fight Now can be found on their website, www.fightnow.com. Speaking of now, joining us, Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Hey, good morning, guys. How is everybody today?
Not too bad, not too bad. Why don't we get started with your boxing schedule roundup so we can talk a little about the fights this week and, of course, the big event from last week.
All right. Everybody just bear with me because I know there's been a couple changes. Unfortunately, where I am, the cable and the internet service and telephone service has all been out, so I might have a couple things in here that have changes from what you were talking about in the show. But we'll start out in Friday in Bethel Green, London. Maloney Promotions has a headliner. Heavyweight John McDermott and veteran Matt Skeleton battle for the vacant BBFC English heavyweight title, and undefeated upstarts heavyweight Gary Cornish and light welterweight Ahmet Patterson, and also welterweight George Michael Carmen is going to be on the bill. In Kissimmee, Florida, on Telemundo, All-Star Boxing will have featherweight Orlando Cruz defend his WBO Latino featherweight title against hard-hitting Elan Martinez. And in Lincoln, Rhode Island, home state of CES Boxing, another contender alum bout will happen when Peter Manfredo Jr. and Walter Wright face off in a super middleweight contest, though unlike the K9 Brundage and Ishe Smith, there's going to be no title on the line. In Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, Marshall Kaufman's King Promotions has a pretty good event for a local card. Unblemished lightweight Liam Nelson takes on Georgi Kevshilovith. And light middleweight Harry Joe Yorgi, a guy many of you know from ESPN Friday Night Fight appearances, will be on the card against Julius Kennedy. I only mention that because for a local card that we always speak about, Bill, how local shows are the foundation of the sport. Harry Joe Yorgi always puts on a good show, win or lose, so it's something I figured is worth going to if we're over here in the East Coast area. And Saturday, March 13th, in Entre Rios, Argentina, OR Promotions and TYC Sports continue showing why they are the premier source for ladies boxing in the sport, because it seems as though every other week they have a ladies headliner, and this week is no different. It's one of the best undefeated light flyweight champion, Jessica Yolanda Bob, defends her WBA and WBL female light flyweight titles against Carolina Alvarez. In Quintana Roo, Mexico, on Fox Espanol, Golden Boy's weekly card will feature light welterweight Pablo Cesar Canal, who I believe is what you were just telling everybody out there, that the fight card has changed. Am I correct on that?
Well, I'm hearing conflicting stuff. The opponent, Manny Perez, they've issued a statement saying that Cano backed out. Now, I haven't heard anything from Golden Boy or Cano. This all just happened in the last 24 hours. So, I don't know if they got another opponent, if something happened where they couldn't get Perez to Mexico where the fight's being held. I'm not 100% sure. It's a shame.
Yesterday it was up in the air as well for me, but, there was nothing definite, so I just kept it on the roundup. But I'll tell you who else is on the card, and that's the exciting but often overlooked lightweight Jorge Linares, who's going to face David Rodella. And in Panama City, Panama, Samson Boxing is going to have a title bout doubleheader on TYC Sports and Panama TV. Also, Max Channel 9. In the main event, Roberto Vasquez is going to defend his interim WBA World Bantamweight title against John Mark Apolinario. And then John Rael Casimiro will defend his IBF light flyweight title against Luis Alberto Rios. Moving further down south to Peru on ATV TV, Jorge Bartra Productions will have a light flyweight Alberto Rosell defending his interim WBA World Light Flyweight title against Walter Tello. And then in separate co-features under...
We just lost you, Dax. You got to give us a shout back. We lost Dax, man. And he was going so well. And you know what? That might have been Dax's line. He just told us that he was having some problems with the phone and the internet and everything else. And because I see that our side here was still strong. So, let's see. We'll see if we got him right now, and we don't. So, Dax, you're going to have to bear with me here because now I have to go through my whole thing and restart everything. So, Dax is I'm going to have to hold tight here for a second. But, don't you just love when this stuff happens? I certainly do. And it's par for the course the way my last 24 hours has gone. So, as far as the Pablo Cesar Cano fight, I don't know, man. I heard it for the first time actually late last night, and I don't know where that stands right now, and we're going to have to wait and see. Some of the other fights that we were talking about, the Orlando Cruz and the Alan Martinez fight, I think that's going to be a good fight, and I had mixed feelings with Orlando Cruz, to be honest with you. I thought that it was kind of weird how, all of a sudden he's getting a lot of recognition because of, what he did. I mean, he came out of the closet, and he's become actually credited as becoming the first openly gay fighter. And I'm sure he's not the only one. And, I think that he should be credited for being a quality boxer and not for coming out of the closet. I mean, that's just my opinion, and I think he would agree with me. He went from being an opponent who was a tough opponent. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this guy isn't a quality fighter, because he certainly is. But now, when you look at his opponent for tomorrow night, it looks clearly as a fighter versus an opponent versus every other fight he had in his career. If you look at his whole record, which I'll get into tomorrow when I break it down, I mean, this guy's in, very tough opposition. And it's weird because, don't you want to, I think if you're Orlando Cruz, I think you just want to be regarded as a quality fighter, not as that guy who came out of the closet. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's my thoughts. We got that one on the challenge. We got a co-main event, which is on the Timothy Bradley card, which is a real good one that actually hasn't gotten much discussion. And, it's Jesse Vargas, who was the defector. And I don't mean defecting, from Cuba or something. I mean, he defected from Mayweather Promotions to Top Rank. He's fighting Wally Otsumotsu, who's a tough fighter from Australia. They're both undefeated. And, Jesse Vargas has had some tough fights as well. This is a tough one to pick. And I was I saw not Jesse's last fight. I believe it was the one before that in Las Vegas, where he didn't look all that great. He won a one-sided decision, but he didn't look all that great. And a lot of people thought that the fight was a lot closer than the judges scored it. Then we have the Timothy Bradley fight, of course, against Prodognikov, which is going to be one of those fights where I think it's a showcase fight for Bradley. I think that he's a guy that is the new cash cow for Top Rank. Even though Top Rank, has a lot of quality fighters, of course, in their stable, and you could argue that maybe Bam Bam Rios should be that guy, or Rigondeaux or Donaire or whatever. But for some reason, I feel that Timothy Bradley is the guy that's going to be that new frontline guy. And speaking of frontline guys, Dax Khan, we got you back, man. Sorry about that. First we lost you, then I had to rebuild the system here real quick. So finish up what you were doing.
It's got to be everywhere because it's down here too. Like I said, literally 30 seconds before I called you, everything went back on. Okay, as I was saying, we're going to move further down south to Peru on ATV TV. Jorge Batra Productions is going to have a light flyweight, Alberto Rosell, defending his interim WBA World Light Flyweight title against Walter Kilo. Then in separate co-features, there's undefeated fighters, featherweight Carlos Zambrano, light middleweight David Zagara, and light welterweight Juan Zagara, all looking to make their mark on national TV before heading to the U.S. for big money, as it's rumored. At the Sangha Center in Lowell, Massachusetts, there's an almost criminal card where Cynthia Tolman and CFC Promotions presents a card with disaster waiting to strike on it, Billy. The headliner has middleweights Osumu Adama and Grady Brewer meeting for the IBO and WBC minor titles, and also has Vivian Harris and Shaka Moore facing off. Everybody knows Vivian Harris should be nowhere near a ring, and neither should Shaka Moore. He's been a club-level show fighter since as long as I can remember, so I just want to give a quick shame on Cynthia Tolman for putting these guys in the ring on their card. You're part of everything that's wrong with boxing. But then we move out to California for the big event this week, and that's brought to us by Top Rank and Xanaford Promotions. It's going to air on stations around the world besides HBO. It's going to be seen on Mexico Azteca, Hungary Sport 1, Denmark TV3, Sport 2, and Sweden TV, when pound-for-pound ranked unbeaten WBO welterweight champion Timothy Bradley defends his belt against Ruslan Provakinov in the main event. But on the undercard, as you were just saying a second ago, Billy, is one that has excited me the most in a long time, because there's a lot of talent stepping into the ring that we're going to see headlining main events in the future. In my opinion, you're going to have two unbeaten welterweights and possible future opponents for the winner of Bradley Provakinov, and that's going to be Jesse Vargas and Wally Omatoso, and they're going to do battle. Also, unbeaten heavyweight Andy Ruiz Jr. is going to showcase his abilities, as is super bantamweight Jesse Magdaleno. They're both going to be in action. Just two things before I go, Bill. Later today, I'm supposed to speak with Sal Sinicola, who we've been talking about. You've been speaking about him on the show, and I wrote a preview on there. And there's going to be an upcoming series on his career that should come out next week. And also, my Ladies of Gleason's Gym series is going to be out tomorrow, starting with Keisha Fire McLeod Wells, the boxing diva. So everybody look at that on our website, BillCBoxing.com.
Great job, as usual, Dax. And let's talk a little about the fights from last week. First, one time, Keith Thurman, he fought and beat Jan Zavik. And, I think that the fans all of a sudden are kind of being a little tough on Keith Thurman. It's almost as tough as they're being on Gary Russell Jr. I thought Keith did a good job. I thought it was an exciting fight. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I think he's emerged as a serious player in the welterweight division. What do you think?
I think, it was an exciting fight in terms of, of action. It was an exciting fight, just in terms of seeing, the power that he lands, which he's known for, henceforth the name one time. But, it also exposed Keith Thurman a lot. There was a lot of times where I thought his footwork didn't look that good, and he swung awful wide on those punches, almost maybe as if he was trying a little bit too hard to impress the fans. But, any fighter, up at the top tier level that, is, how you want to say nowadays, world class, which, with all the title belts out there, that narrows it down to almost everybody. But, he's very wide open, very ready there for a counter. So Keith Thurman has a lot of work to do before he's ready to take that next step up.
See, now, I guess you and I, you're one of the ones that disagree with me. I thought that he showed I was worried going into that fight that he was going to be more of a one-dimensional fighter. I thought that he would be just headhunting all night long. And even Coach, who's in the chat room right now, he says, you got to remember, he was a solid amateur and he knows how to box and blah, blah, blah. And I thought that he showed us some of that on Saturday. And that's what I was impressed with, that he wasn't just going headhunting. He showed that he's got a pretty decent jab, and he showed that, he had the uppercut in his arsenal. And I do admit, and I agree with you, that, at times he looked like he was throwing his punches wide, but I thought it was more positive than negative, at least in my opinion, for Keith Thurman. Is he ready for, to take on a Bradley or something? No, but I think one time will get his time.
Jan Zavik is also there for the hitting. Speaking of, and I thought about this during the broadcast, what would be a good fight, I think, especially right now since he came off a couple losses, is Keith Thurman against Andre Berto, and I've seen a lot of similarities with the way they held their feet. I've seen Keith was wide at times, and they kind of both put on the same type of performance against Zavik, and I think that'd be a very exciting fight in that division.
I agree, and nobody has as wide of a funky stance as Andre Berto. I think Andre Berto's demise is his corner. And he got rid of the only sane person in his corner. And I think, unfortunately, as much as I like Andre Berto as a person, I think we've seen the best of him. So, yeah, I agree with you. That would be a Bam Bam Rios, Mike Alvarado-esque kind of fight, man. But anyway, Bernard Hopkins, he did it again, man. He dictated the fight, looked fantastic doing so. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it was more of what Tavoris Cloud didn't do. I know a lot of people, especially the Bernard Hopkins fans, are out there right now ready to shoot me. But I think it was more of what Tavoris Cloud didn't do than what Bernard did do. There was a few times when Tavoris did land some combinations, and he stopped throwing. But then again, Bernard has that way about him of making guys think twice before they throw their punches. He's very difficult. He's very awkward. He knows the little subtle movements to throw guys off. But we've seen in the past from Tavoris Cloud, especially in his bout before that against Gabriel Campillo, he's very easily outboxed, and it's the very subtle movements that throw him off. So, Tavoris Cloud's very one-dimensional. But, a great one for Bernard Hopkins. You have to give it up to him. He went in there. He fought a younger champion, a strong kid. He's usually a lot more active. So, you have to give him all the credit in the world. But was I overly impressed? No, I was not overly impressed because, in my opinion, if Tavoris was landing on him regularly and Tavoris was getting some job done, Bernard would have went into his acting skills.
And then you always say, well, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle too.
Yeah.
Tavorius Cloud didn't do it, and B-Hop got it done, and I could see your point because it's the same as it half full. There's the glass half full or half empty, but at this point, the winner should get the credit. Now that brings me to a question that we had on the Talk to Me Man show, which I thought went great. We had a listener ask me, a caller, I should say, ask me what I thought when it was all said and done. Whose legacy would be more remembered? Who would have a better legacy, Floyd or B-Hop? And I love the question. And as I thought about it live, and gave my answer, I had even though neither one of them are my favorites, I had a lean towards Bernard Hopkins. What's your thoughts on that?
I would have to lean towards Bernard because Bernard's never taken the easy road. Bernard is, he stayed in one division. He dominated the division. He took on all comers. Bernard never ducked anybody. His person, to me, Bernard, the only similarity between Bernard and Floyd is both their personalities grind on you like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah. But, as far as skill-wise and as far as, legacy-wise, I don't think that, Floyd is any better than Bernard ever was, at his best. And I really think, I agree that Bernard's legacy is going to be the better legacy unless Floyd really gets some really good wins in there before he goes. And that's funny because on our social media, on our Twitter account, I was actually getting into a discussion about somebody there, how, Floyd has always taken the easier road, and we were speaking about Bernard in that and saying how Bernard Hopkins has just always wanted to go out there and show he was the best. Floyd has always just cared about the zero. Bernard would take the loss. The only time Bernard I've ever heard him really complain truly was after the Jermaine Taylor fight, but I just think that was a bit of sour grapes. But I definitely go Bernard overall.
Yeah, I thought he won both of those crazy decisions. But let me ask you this: how about today's listener, Mike from Hawaii, who threw it at me about Roy Jones Jr. and Floyd? And that was kind of a tough one too. And I leaned towards Roy only because I thought he engaged more and he was a little more exciting, you know. But then again, Floyd had a better defense. What's your thoughts on those two?
If you want to go overall with legacy, are we still talking about?
Yeah. I'm just, like, who do you think was...
I really, if we're going like, on that, that's a hard one. But then again, I would have to, probably for that one, I'd have to edge out Floyd a little bit. Roy was the most exciting at super middleweight, and some of his early light heavyweight days. But you remember, Roy fought a lot of stiffs for a long time. Roy didn't fight anybody, and at least Floyd. He's jumped up. Whether or not he's fought guys that are a little bit past it, whether or not he's cherry picked a little bit is all a matter subject of opinion. But Roy really sat in a stagnant division, and his skills kind of really eroded, and he became one-dimensional after a while. And henceforth, where in the end, once Roy's natural reflexes started to go, that's when he just became a punching bag. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a guy who's going to be in there. Actually, when you compare him to a Bernard Hopkins type, Floyd is the type of guy that his ring savvy will carry him through once his speed net starts to go down a little bit. So overall, I would pick Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Well, let me ask you this: what if Roy had walked away after he beat John Ruiz for the heavyweight title? If he walks away at that point in his career, does he get the edge then?
No, because of the reasons, like I said, was the fact that, he went and he fought a lot of weak opposition for a very long time. Interesting.
This week we got a couple of big fights. We'll start off with the biggest one first, Timothy Bradley against Ruslan Prodagnikov. I'm a little disappointed in this fight. I don't want to discredit Prodagnikov. I mean, we all know he's working with Freddie Roach right now, who hasn't been doing too well. But Timothy Bradley, on the heels of arguably one of the most ridiculous scorecards I've ever seen in watching boxing, I would have thought that he would have kind of seeked out a major player in the welterweight division, and instead he gets this almost as a shake off the ring rust kind of a fight. And again, I'm not discrediting Prodagnikov, but I'm not putting him in the same class as a Timothy Bradley. What's your thoughts about the fight itself and the outcome?
Timothy Bradley, I think you spoke off the air about that, and a lot of people have noticed that his whole demeanor and his whole attitude have changed. Now all of a sudden, he's calling out fighters. He's going to, not calling out fighters, I'm sorry, he's calling on knockout rounds. He did on one of the phone conferences, and he's, talking about how he's tired of not getting the respect. And I don't know, maybe he's going through some personal problems or something. Timothy should have just stayed the way Timothy was. And as far as, the quality of opponent, Provocanov is the tough guy. But like you're saying, Timothy, who is suddenly demanding this respect, should do what he needs to do to get the respect and fight a top guy. Mm-hmm. And, Provocanov, he's a tough guy, but, there's a lot better names out there. For example, I would have gave him more respect, and I think a lot of people would have gave him more respect, even if he fought an Andre Berto or somebody like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The co-main event, Jesse Vargas against Wally Omotosu, looks really good on paper. Is it going to be as good in the ring?
I think I don't really know too much about Omotosu. I've seen a few of his fights. Jesse Vargas, I'm really high on. I think this kid is, in another 2 or 3 years, he's going to be right up there near the top. But as a co-main event, it's definitely one that, is going to fit the bill, and definitely one that I don't think we're going to be disappointed in. Whether or not it lives up to what it does on paper, I don't really know. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited about the Magdaleno on there.
You're excited about what?
Magdaleno.
Oh, Jesse Magdaleno. Yeah,
Magdaleno.
He's a great kid. I loved meeting him in person. And his brother is finally getting a shot at a title and everything. Yeah, they're always fun to watch. They bring a lot of fans. There's another fight that I want to ask you about, which, you know, I'm kind of torn on. Antonio Escalante was a highly regarded prospect at one time. He suffered a couple of losses, and he goes in with Robert Marroquin, who got a shot at the world title on that big card in Vegas, and he showed pretty well. I mean, he stuck around in there, but he also showed us that he was kind of one-dimensional. He's moving up in weight for this fight. What's your thoughts on it?
Escalante is one of those guys that we've spoken. Yeah, I guess since we were speaking about Pablo Cesar Canal before, there's a perfect example. He's one of those guys that just seems, to come and go. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. So if he's on, I believe he's going to win that fight. He's going to win it impressively. The only thing is that he needs to keep that momentum and keep going. We've seen a lot with guys, like him and Canal and that. It seems like once they get a good win, once they get a good performance, all of a sudden, they seem to try and ride on that. And I blame boxing for that, to be honest with you, Bill, because the sport allows people to ride on a win nowadays, and it hurts the sport. So, but hopefully it lives up to what to what it looks like it should on paper. But as for what happens after that, I don't know. But it's tough. There's some tough picks this week. It really is. The challenge is going to be a tough one for me to pick. I'm going to close my eyes and throw darts.
That's the way I do it every week. What are you talking about? Yeah, I tell you what, it's been a tough couple of weeks, that's for sure. But hey, another fight that's rumored about being made or will be made soon. I have mixed feelings about it, and it's the one with Tony Thompson against Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is in my opinion, he's that F word. He's a fraud. I mean, he hasn't fought anybody yet. He's pounding his chest. He's making crazy statements like he's the best heavyweight in the world. Hasn't proved it in the ring yet. I'm not saying he doesn't possess talent and skill and all of that, because he certainly does. But, on one hand, Dax, I want to see him fight a guy like Tony Thompson. But on the other hand, I'd rather see him face another younger fighter. I mean, Tony Thompson, he's seen better days, and I just don't. I don't know if this is really going to be a gauge. Should Deontay Wilder beat him, does he get to say that he's the best heavyweight? I mean, what's your thoughts on that matchup?
No, he doesn't get to say he's the best heavyweight. I don't care if he goes in there and he knocks Tony Thompson out with a jab. I don't care if he goes in there and he puts on a showcase performance like Ali. But no, that doesn't give him that right. He's the guy that, this seems to be a theme for this segment here today. He's a guy that needs to be tested. He wasn't that good. He was as an amateur, he was a guy that, when he was good, he was good, but, when he was bad, he was bad. And that's the same thing in his professional career, but he's fighting a lot of these guys that are, not even B level, we've got to say C level. But Tony Thompson will tell us what he really has, even though Tony's, he's up there in age. I think Tony's, 40, 41. But, he managed to go, he lost both fights, but he managed to give, Vladimir Klitschko, some issues in both those fights. And, if Wilder can go in there and he could beat Tony, and, what I really think is he doesn't need a knockout against Tony. He needs to be able to go in there and hang with Tony, for the full distance. And if he can go in there and he can hang with Tony for the distance, and, he can, really look impressive while beating Tony over the distance, that will tell us exactly how good Deontay Wilder really is. If he goes in there and he struggles with Tony Thompson, then exactly what you said, it's guaranteed. I'll put my stamp on it that he's a fraud.
It's funny because I was saying that the other day that I have a feeling he's going to go after Tony similar to the way David Price did with little or no respect. And that's exactly how Tony Thompson has that slim chance of winning. He's very slow. I mean, he delivers a punch, while it's traveling. You could go pour yourself a cup of coffee, come back, sit down, get all situated, and the punch is still on its way, but with that said, if Wilder goes in there with no respect and is in close, that's Thompson's shot at landing a bomb, and he does have pop. So it would be interesting to see, and I think I agree with you. I think in that particular case, I'd rather see him, show us that he can do more than just headhunt.
There's, and as far as the heavyweight division, we're always complaining about there's no fights out there. There's a lot of good fights out there. As you're talking with Coach K in the chat room, Wilder and Fury would be a great fight. You have my man, and I know you love him too, is Bryant Bye-Bye Jennings. That's a guy to look forward to. One of those guys are going to take the reins very soon of that division. And, there's a little bit of a box-off going on right there. But, it all depends on how Wilder performs against Tony Thompson and whether or not he's going to be included into that little round robin.
See, the truth of the matter is, and we've kind of been saying this for a while, if you take the Klitschko's out of the mix and you have the other heavyweights actually fighting each other, like those top 10, 15 guys, there are some great matchups, and that's what this sport needs, especially the heavyweight division. But that's not what happens, because the blueprint now is, just stay busy, fight the cupcakes, and you'll get your shot. Wait in line, and you'll get your shot. That's what's happening, rather than what should be happening is what you're saying right now. These guys should be fighting each other, and I agree. There's a lot of good. Think about it. Ruslan Shagayev and Kubrat Pulev would be a good one, or Derek Chisora and Bye Jennings, all of those. David Price will be back. That Polish kid, throw him in there with a Bryant Jennings.
And Derek just got his license back too, didn't he?
Yeah, Derek Chisora just did. Yeah, he's fighting on that April 20th card in the one that everybody left Frank Warren on. But
and of course, David Haye is coming back.
No, he says he's going to retire because they sent the offer. This made me sick. You weren't listening to the first half of the show, but this made me sick. They sent an offer to Vitaly Klitschko claiming that here's our outline for what we want to fight Vitaly. And my point is, who the hell is David Haye? I don't even want to see him anymore. I don't want to see him at fights. I don't want to see him, fighting. I just he's a joke to me, and
I kind of said that tongue-in-cheek, actually. I was just being a little bit more sarcastic than anything, because I was thinking about something that I said on Twitter yesterday when, they were talking about Derek Chisora coming back. I had actually said, if I never seen Chisora or Haye again, it'd be too soon, because both of them outside the ring act like classless idiots. But, as far as, David Haye, he's just trying to talk himself into another big payday. And then he's talking about, he's going to go into, I think, with K1 he's going to go into. But, it's ridiculous. David Haye, he's an afterthought in my opinion. But as you were saying about the good matchups that are out there, take the Klitschko's out of the equation. It reminds me of back in the 80s when Mike Tyson was steamrolling everybody. And, for a long time, come the early 90s when he started to show a little bit of decline because he stopped training, people were saying, well, Mike was overrated. He was never that good. He beat a lot of bums. There was a lot of good fighters then. It's just Mike was so dominant, he made them look bad. If there was better matchups at that point in time, then, the division would have been, a lot more exciting. Same thing for now. These promoters shoot themselves in the foot, Billy.
Hey, listen. I know that, and they not only shoot themselves in the foot, they shoot the sport in the head. So
they don't want to drive a Lexus when they got a whole lot full of brand new Toyotas and BMWs. You know what I mean? It's I don't understand it.
I'll take a Hyundai.
Yeah, right.
Dax, great job and great thoughts. We'll look forward to you next time, my man.
All right, and tonight we're gonna have the show on tonight.
Changed my mind. They're going to watch the South Santa Cola replay on BillyCBoxing.com. It's up under the Change My Mind section. Billy C's CMM. They can watch all of them tonight. I'm working on it. I
apologize to everybody about my late time warner here about the connections and the disconnection. So my apologies to all.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one. Great fights this weekend.
That's Dax Khan giving us his boxing schedule roundup and his thoughts on several things, including some dream matchups and the fights that are taking place this weekend, as well as Bernard Hopkins' historical win last week over Tavarius Cloud. Hey, we're going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some stuff that I'm feeling good about with the WBA. Yeah, I said it. I'll be right back.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
In the real world, life has its shares of trials and tribulations, but you don't have to face them alone. This is Patricia Campanaro of Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you are facing emotionally difficult family legal issues from divorce to child custody, reach out to the team that will dedicate themselves to fighting for you. The team of Campanaro and Tomkovich. With almost 30 years of experience handling divorce, child custody, legal guardianship, visitation, and other legal issues dealing with family concerns, we can help you resolve the problems you are facing with professionalism and care. Our supportive staff is always ready to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have. To find out more about Campanaro and Tomkovich, visit us at duchessnylaw.com or call us and speak to a member of our attentive staff at 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Don't be surprised at court with inexperienced representation. At Campanaro and Tomkovich, we have been helping our clients get the justice they deserve for almost 30 years, and we could do the same for you.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the number 1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in. Because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway. Up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette. He's just a buttonette. Coming at you on the count of 1.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show. Don't forget about Fight Now TV. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now on your sports channel lineup. Doesn't matter if you have satellite dish or cable, Fight Now is for you. For all the information about the channel, you can visit their website, www.fightnow.com. Speaking about not forgetting, don't forget that March 29th, Friday Night Fights, is going to be coming at you live from the beautiful Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona. My Verona. No, different. Verona, New York, which is near Canastota. You go up to check out the fights on March 29th. Swing by the Boxing Hall of Fame. Check it out. Take you about 3 minutes to walk through the whole place. But check it out, man. It's worthwhile. And it'll take you longer if you read all the stuff and watch the films and stuff like that. It'll take you an hour. But unless you're there for the weekend, then it takes you an hour just to get into the place because of the line. But March 29th, some great fights. Friday night's fights, a main event. Brian Vera against Deontay Bandarvis, which is going to be a good one. And I want you there. Get yourself some tickets. You can get the tickets by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the Friday Night Fights poster, which is right there on the front page. It takes you right to the box office. Tickets start out at $25. And as soon as you get yourself a ticket, drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and hopefully I'll see you there because I'm going to be ringside for that one, hanging out, and I want to meet you. That's right, man. I want to meet you. Let you buy me a couple of scotches, of course. Come on, man. Drop me an email. Let me know you're going to be there, and we'll set up a time and a place. That's right. March 29th at the Turnstone. We got some good cards coming up. One was announced yesterday in Japan, in Tokyo, on May 5th. A couple of world title bouts are going to be on the line. Junior lightweight Takashaki Yukjamaya. No, it's not a type of maple syrup, but it's a fighter, 19-0 with a draw, 16 of his wins coming by knockout. He's going to make his 7th title defense against Yader Para, who's also undefeated at 20-0 with a draw. Now, don't think I mentioned his name wrong. Lorenzo Para happens to be his brother, who was the former flyweight champion. And Yader, or Jader, I think it's Yader, Para, is 20-0 with a draw, 10 knockouts, like I said. May 5th for that one. Also, the junior bantamweight champion Kohei Kono is going to be putting his title on the line. He's got a record of 28-7 with 11 knockouts in the junior bantamweight division. He's going to be making the first title defense of his belt when he takes on the interim challenger, Libraro Solis, who's got a record of 14-3-1 with 7 of his wins coming by knockout. So we'll see what happens on that. Good one on May 5th. And on April 4th, which is a month before that, Lou DiBella once again teams up with his new best friend, 50. That's 50 Cent. And on April 4th, they're putting together a show which is actually one of the best DiBella Broadway boxing cards I've seen in a long time. I mean, listen, no disrespect to Lou, but, you know, usually those boxing cards in the Broadway boxing cards are usually like, you know, showcasing his young fighters, and they're usually matched up pretty simply. You know, no competitiveness. It's in a small arena. The tickets are high, and he doesn't care if anybody goes because he's got a TV deal. But on April 4th, there's going to be some decent fights in that one. And scheduled to appear Yuri Foreman, Gabriel Brissario, Louis DeValle trying to come back from his fight, and also top-rated welterweight Jojo Dan. So he's got some good ones scheduled for that, and even he said that it very well may be one of the best cards ever. It's going to be taking place April 4th in New York City at the Roseland Ballroom. So make sure you mark that one down. The WBA has made some references recently to several different outlets that they're contemplating getting rid of the interim title, which, man, and I just hope that they don't call it something else like the bogus WBC did. You know, they say they got rid of the interim title and they call it the silver belt, you know, which is basically the same as the interim belt. And if they're just going to use a new word, you know, call it their, you know, bronze belt or you know, their almost championship belt, then it's a joke. But if they truly get rid of that whole level of a champion, I, for one, would applaud them, and they would immediately move to the top of the sanctioning body order, in my opinion. Originally, the interim belt was only given to a fighter when the champion could not make a defense due to an injury, whether he sustained that injury in the ring or outside the ring or whatever. And they had another champion that was the interim belt holder until the champion was able to fight again, and then they would fight. And, you know, the champion would fight the interim belt for the real title. And should the interim guy win, he officially becomes the world champion. Well, somewhere along the line, the interim belt became a revenue generator, and now every major sanctioning body has an interim champion. As a matter of fact, it's very confusing. As I was going through, the fights that I chose for the, which I'm going to give you guys in a second here, which I chose for the Billy C Challenge this week. There was one that had a championship that was an interim belt, but it doesn't say interim when you look up on their record. So if you go to, let's say, BoxRec to you know, study the records, especially if you're involved with our challenge, all it says is champion. You know, XYZ World Championship. You know, it doesn't have the word interim. Therefore, you know, for the records and for the, you know, historical aspect, they are being regarded as a championship, which, you know, I'm kind of torn for. You know, if you're going to award somebody a belt, if you're going to charge somebody a sanctioning fee, and you're calling it a world championship, well, then it should be on the records as a championship. Now, whether that championship is diluted or anything else because of how many different champions there are in a specific weight class, that's a whole nother story. But you can't say it's an interim belt and try to bill it as such. The TV networks bill it as a championship fight. The promoters bill it as a championship fight. The fighter is ecstatic and happy for winning it as if it was a championship fight. And it's on the record books as a championship fight. Well, then, damn it, you're going to have to regard those interim belt holders when they win or lose that belt as, you know, champion or former champions. If they truly eliminate the interim belt, with the exception of for those injuries, I would think that that's great. I think it's great for the WBA, for their recognition. I think their value goes up. I think the value in obtaining one of their belts goes up. And I believe that the interim title should only be in effect if there's an injury. Now, remember, they do have an answer for that now. It's called the Champion in Recess title. You know, so, I mean, there's so many titles right now that you can't even follow it. You know, you got the Diamond Studded or Super Champion. That's supposed to be the number one, right? But in a lot of cases, it's not. It gets regarded as, like when they unify a belt, a lot of the sanctioning bodies will strip them of their regular title and elevate them to Super or Diamond Champion. And then they make that fighter wait online to get a shot at the title they just stripped them from, which is totally ridiculous. So in the hierarchy, really, you have the Diamond or Super Champion, then you have the regular old champion, then you have the Silver or the interim title, then you also have the Champion in Recess title. You also have the Eliminator number one contender official mandatory challenger title. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then, you add up that I even saw somebody with an interim, it was a secondary title that was an interim belt. I forget which one it was. But, I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. So if they do this and they truly eliminate that level, I would be happy. If they rename it, like the WBC did, then it's just smoke and mirrors and it's all BS. Which would not make me too happy. But anyway, hey, it's a good thought. It's a good thought for sure, man. That's for sure. All right, so some fights that we're going to have on our challenge this week. Right off the bat, the Pablo Cesar Cano fight against Manuel Perez. We know that Manny Perez is off there. Now, whether Pablo Cesar Cano is fighting someone else or not, I don't know, but unfortunately it's being removed from our challenge, so that particular one is gone. I was contemplating on the co-main event. Now, I know that Jorge Linares is fighting on that card, but in my opinion, he's not fighting a good enough opponent to make that a challenge. That's just a win. But the Alberto Corvaria and Gennaro Garcia fight that was originally slated, I like that fight, but I've heard rumor that that's not the fight, that Jesus Dominguez is the guy that's moving up a couple of weight classes to fight Alberto Guevara. If that's the case, it's not on our challenge. But I am going to include the Alberto Guevara against Gennaro Garcia fight because I like that fight, and I think that that's a tough one. So that one will be on our challenge. The Matt Skelton and John McDermott fight, two heavyweights that are journeymen, so to speak. But what an evenly matched fight that is, and that will be on our challenge this week. So we will be looking at that one. The Osu Manu and Adama against Grady Brewer fight. That fight is another good one. That's a fight that you have to wonder about. Now, Grady Brewer is a talented fighter. But the question about him sometimes is his training ability, or not his ability to train, his desire to train. It is moving up a little in weight from his last fight, which is the one that I got to call when he got bit in the neck by Giorpis Bartholomew. And he had trouble making weight for that fight. So this particular fight might be right up his alley. Now, I'll give you an inside scoop. There's negotiations going on right now with Grady Brewer possibly fighting Gabriel, what's his name? Gabriel Rojas. Not Rosa. Gabriel Rosa. No. Who's the kid from Philly? Somebody help me out here. Who's I love the guy. I can't think of his last name. Is it? Yeah, I think it is Rosa. I think it is Rosa. Or Rosales or something like that. What's Gabriel? Will one of you guys help me out here? Rosado. Thanks, Coach. I knew it was Rose something. Rosado. Sorry about that, Gabe. I like him. So rumors are that they're discussing a possible matchup. Now, I don't know if the implications are if Grady Brewer beats Adama or not, or if it's going to go. And I think that depending upon those terms will dictate how Grady Brewer fights this fight. If he's already got the fight against Rosado, it may not be as important to him than if he has to beat Adama to get Rosado. So that is a very competitive fight, so it's on our list. A real competitive pair of fights is Roberto Vasquez against John Mark Apolinario. That's a really good one. It's a rematch. The first one ended in a draw. And these guys are going to go at it again. I like that fight, and it's going to be another tough one. The other one that's going to, and it's going to also be on our challenge. The other one that's on our challenge is John Real Casimiro against Luis Alberto Rios. Another good one. Even though Jessica Yolanda Bop has fought as a titleist out of her 23 or 24 fights, I believe 17 of them have all been world title fights. Even though she's at the top of her game, she's in with a tough test too. Carolina Alvarez, who's an older fighter but a quality fighter, so that one's on our challenge as well. Robert Marroquin against Antonio Escalante, clearly on our challenge. And, of course, Timothy Bradley, Ruslan Prodagnikov, and Orlando Cruz and Aslan Martinez all are on our challenge. So, again, we got a tough weekend of challenges for the of fights for the Billy C Challenge. If you're considering joining, it's easy, man. All you got to do is send me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and we'll add you to the list, and you will get those fights today. We have 3 little simple rules. Number 1, you need to get 20 fights under your belt before you're eligible for prizes. So if you start today and you join up with us today, you got 7 or 8 right here that are going to be counted. And, depending upon the schedule next week, you very well may be in a position to win for the month of March. Now, the second rule is you're only allowed to miss 3 weeks, which means if you miss 1, 2, or 3 weeks, it does not get averaged into your average for the month and your year end. After you miss three weekends, then you start getting zeros added in. So you don't want to do that. We already have somebody that's getting zeros added in, and we have several people that have missed a couple, if not 3. So they put themselves in a tough position right now, and which means it's good for anybody that's new that wants to get on board. The other rule, actually 2 other rules, one which is a continuation of the minimum picks, is you got to pick all of the fights. So in other words, you get this list that has 8 fights on it, you got to pick all. You can't say, well, I'm not going to pick that one. That one's too tough. I'm only going to pick these. No, you got to pick them all. The third rule is that we judge our winners by rounding off to the nearest percentage, okay? Now, we did have somebody in the past who didn't understand that rule and I guess wasn't intelligent enough to figure it out. But let me explain it to you. If I have an average, if I do an average of, how many wins divided by how many plays, and my number comes out to be 83.6, and you have an average that comes out to be 83.7, well, they both get rounded off to 84%. That's the way it works. It gets rounded off to the next percentage. If you had 83.6 and I had 83.4, well, then I'm 83, you become 84, you win. Now, we do have a tiebreaker. The tiebreakers go to the next person. If 2 people finish with the same winning percentage, the first tiebreaker is the person that has the most plays. So if you got 84% and you got 50 plays, and I have 84% and I have 100 plays, I get the nod. If it's still tied after that, we have a 3 fight tiebreaker, meaning there's 3 things that you'll have to pick within one fight that would be determined, and it would be a battle between those two players. Now, we give away a prize every month, so the person with the monthly, the best winning percentage for the month gets a prize, and then we have the grand prize at the end of the year, which is a huge prize package we send out. You can always go up to the website, www.billycboxing.com, and see the standings. The standings are up there now. Who won last month? and the year-to-date standings, and that's obviously the big picture for people that want to win that year-end prize. Now, my stats are up there too. Obviously, I'm not eligible for the prizes, but I will pat myself on the back right now. As the year-end standings go, I have the best winning percentage. As far as the month goes, not so good. This has been a real tough month for us, but congratulations to Dave Murphy, because he's winning for eligible, I believe, both monthly and yearly right now. So my man Dave Murphy coming up from the depths, man, because he didn't do so good as the year ended. And by the way, if you've been a long-time Billy C. Challenger and you're ever interested in getting your year-to-date, not year-to-date, lifetime winning percentage, let me know. I do track that. So if you've ever started, I have your whole history of how many plays and how many wins you have. I can give you that up-to-date winning percentage. But right now we post year-to-date and monthly only. So good luck to anybody. If they want to join the challenge, just email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
Wake up. It's time for It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
Alrighty then. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. Check them out. You can get to them by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click one of the Gleason's Gym banners, or you can call them direct, 718-797-2872, 718-797-2872. Make sure you tell them Billy C. sent you. And if you're going to sign up for a class, or if you're going to sign up for a membership, or if you're going to buy a Gleason's hat or T-shirt or whatever, make sure you mention Billy C., and they'll give you a discount. You got to demand it. You got to ask for it. Say, hey, I'm supposed to get a Billy C. discount. They will give it to you. And speaking of Gleason, signing up for classes and this and that, how about 3 locations now in the New York area? They, of course, have their main location in Brooklyn, New York. They got one in Manhattan, and they got one on the Jersey Shore. So you got to visit or call them and find out. Visit their website or call them to get the locations and all the information on that. And like I said, the easiest way to get to their website is through ours. Click one of the banners. And speaking of Gleason's, if you scroll down on the front page all the way to the bottom, you'll see their whole schedule. That's right. From March 15th all the way through the end of the year, everything that's going on, they got a lot of cool stuff going on, especially the Boxing Fantasy Camp, which is August 22nd through the 25th. You know you regretted not going last year. Make sure you sign up this year. It's in the Catskills at a beautiful resort. Once you sign up, drop me an email, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and we'll get Dax to do a story on you. Yeah, like he did last year. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is supplied to us by our own trivia question guru. That's Henry Haskell. The question is a good one, and it's still hanging around. Which World Championship fight was the first to use 4 ropes? Which was the first World Championship fight to use 4 ropes? If you know that answer, be the first one to email me. You'll win the prize, and the email is Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. What was the first World Championship fight to use 4 ropes? Good luck to everyone on that one.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble, and that is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099, especially if you're I'll give you a little heads up about Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're a guy and you're kind of in a family battle, maybe a custody battle or something like that with the old ex, give Campanaro and Tomkovich a call because they specialize in standing up for the guys. Yeah, they do very well in court to get the guys to win those custody battles, which is very tough in the state of New York. So check them out, 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. On this day, March 14th in 1914, Jeff Smith wins a 20-round decision over Eddie McGordy to win the Australian World Middleweight title, and that took place on this day, March 14th in 1914. Here's a bonus for you, and it seems to be a guy that I've been talking about a lot lately. On this day, March 14th in 1956, Johnny Saxton wins a 15-round decision over Carmen Basilio to win the world welterweight title. And that took place on this day, March 14th, 1956, in Chicago. Now, a little note here about Carmen Basilio. He would rematch Johnny Saxton 6 months later and knock out Saxton to regain his title. And then that kind of falls into place when he fought down the road, when we talked about it the other day, when he fought my man Sugar Ray Robinson in the title and beat Sugar Ray Robinson for the middleweight title and was ultimately stripped of this very welterweight title. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I do have one other thing to say. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Well, there's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your Sports Center line. If it's that simple, pick up the phone and call. For all information about the channel, you can find it on the website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.